Coffee Toastmaster for tonight. And we have a guest. And your guest, your name was? Olivia, okay. So Olivia is our guest for tonight. And we also have Jaime. All right, awesome. So we're going to go through the agenda so you guys can get an idea of what we do here. So we have a table topics master for tonight. That's going to be Susan. Susan, can you overview what table topics?
Yeah, he did.
Table topics is an opportunity for people to prepare something impromptu speech about something that some opinion of theirs, or anyway, it's usually a lot of fun.
Thank you, Susan. And our grammarian is going to be Justin tonight. Justin, can you explain what the grammarian does?
Sure. The grammarian listens to each of the speakers and makes notes on grammatical errors and then shares a report at the end of the meeting. Did anyone sign up for the all counter rules since I printed the agenda? Should I take the all counter also?
Yeah.
I can do that. Okay. Got all counter. Okay.
Who would you say was out there?
John.
Oh, yeah, John.
And word of the day. Justin.
Oh, the word of the day. Thank you. I'm sorry. The word of the day is mantra. I've heard of that, but I'm not sure what that means. Apologize for not being ready. Give me 1 second here. What did we do before the internet? So a mantra is a statement or slogan repeated frequently, or a word or sound repeated to add concentration and meditation. Mantra.
All right, thank you, Justin. And our timer is going to be Cheyenne.
So I will be keeping time of the speeches. So when you get to green, that is the minimum time for the speech. When you get to yellow, that's a warning. And then when you get to red, then you've got to the maximum time of your speech. And at the end, I will give you a report.
Thank you, Cheyenne. And our general evaluator for tonight's John. Can you give us an idea of what the general evaluator does?
I don't know.
Okay.
Did you decline?
Okay. So we need a general evaluator.
I can do it.
Okay, Diego.
I'll pay close attention to it.
Diego is our general evaluator. And we also will
I
have.
can explain what it is.
Yes.
So the general evaluator is the point person for the third section of our meetings, which is the evaluation portion of our meetings. It's important for people not only to engage in public speaking, but it's important for them to hear feedback and to learn what they're doing right, what good habits they want to repeat, and what bad habits they kind of want to avoid in the future. And I will give a general evaluation of how I think the logistics of the meeting went as well. Back to you.
And with the introduction of all the roles, we will now move into our prepared speeches. Our first speaker tonight is going to be Maurice Heidelberg, and he's speaking out of storytelling still?
Yes.
Just make sure I've got the update. And the title is Bringing History to Life. So let's welcome Maurice for his speech.
So how long is this one?
7 to 9.
7 to 9.
Hello, Toastmasters, an honored guest. I don't know how many of you are staunch baseball fans or half staunch or quarter staunch baseball fans, but this is a story about a team that has won quite a few World Series over the years, not as much as the New York Yankees, but this particular story is more historical, in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, than any other. Not particularly the World Series, but the League Championship Series, and that's what I'll be speaking about. The Boston Red Sox, throughout the years, have been in several World Series, but in 2004, prior to them winning the 2004 World Series, The last World Series that they had won was in 1918. And they had won several prior to 1918, but after 1918 they had made it to a World Series, but have failed to win. Particularly in 1967, it was called the Impossible Dream, which they lost to the St. Louis Cardinals. In 1975, they lost to the Cincinnati Reds. In 1986, they lost to the New York Mets. And what was particularly memorable about that World Series was in Game 6, the Red Sox were winning, but late in the game, the Mets rallied, and there was a ground ball hit. It went under Bill Buckner's legs, and that proved to be the winning run. But fast forward to 2004, where the Red Sox were in the League Championship Series once again, and they were in the League Championship Series the previous year, but they lost to the Yankees. But in 2004, they were in the League Championship Series again against the Yankees. And what is memorable is some of the players there, like Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Hideki Matsui. But in Game 1 of this championship series, the Yankees, they won 10-7. They were leading 8-0 up until the 7th inning, where the Red Sox scored 5 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th inning, and then the Yankees went ahead and blew the rest of the game out and won that game. Game 2, they won 3-1, the Yankees did. In Game 3, they won 19-8. So at this point, the Yankees were leading the series 3-0, and no team in either the championship series or the World Series has come back from a 3-0 deficit. In Game 4, the Red Sox started to come alive, and some of the memorable players from the Red Sox was David Ortiz, who they call Big Pappy, Johnny Damon, Jason Varitek, and there's others who contributed to the Red Sox victories. But in Game 4, the game went into extra innings, and the Red Sox scored 2 runs at the bottom of the 12th inning to win Game 4. So the game, or the series, was 3-1 Yankees. Well, the Yankees were highly favored, obviously, and many fans said, okay, the Red Sox, they took a game, Yankees, they're going to go ahead and win Game 5 and move on to the World Series. So Game 5 takes place. It also went into extra innings, where the Red Sox scored the winning run at the bottom of the 14th inning. At this point, the series was 3-2 Yankees. Well, the Yankees, they're still going to win the series. I mean, who's going to bet against the Yankees winning this series? Going into Game 6, which is particularly memorable, at least in my mind, for 2 things. One was Curt Schilling. He had a bad ankle. I think he had stitches in his ankle, but you could see the blood in his socks as he was pitching. And he hung in there for 7 innings. And Red Sox had the lead, and the relief pitcher came in. And the other memorable thing about that is in the 8th inning, Derek Jeter was on first base, and Alex Rodriguez was at bat. And he hit a ground ball, and the relief pitcher got the ball and he tagged Alex Rodriguez, but Alex Rodriguez slapped the ball out of his glove. And what happened was the manager for Red Sox came out, he was mad, and the first base umpire couldn't see it because he was at a bad angle because the first baseman was blocking his view. But another umpire saw what happened, and the umpires got together and reviewed the play, and they found that Alex Rodriguez slapped the ball out of the guy's glove because otherwise Derek Jeter would have scored. So they called Alex out, and he's sitting there like, what did I do? I mean, he knows what he did, but he had to play that role. What did I do? Did I do that? And then the manager for the Yankees, Joe Torre, came out and argued, but the Red Sox went on to win that game 4-2. So the series is tied 3-3. And the fans, I'm pretty sure they started questioning, especially the Yankees fans. Okay, it's tied 3-3, so let's go on and not play around in Game 7 and let's win this thing. But Game 7 comes along, and it was really uneventful because the Sox had a big lead, and they went on to win that game 10-3, and the Red Sox became the first major league team to come back from 3 games down, 3-0, to win a league championship series. And it was also the first World Series that they had won in 86 years. So the World Series comes along, and it was uneventful. They swept the St. Louis Cardinals 4-0. So that was their World Series victory right there against the Cardinals, where they won their first World Series in 86 years. Even though the White Sox would win the following year in the first time in 88 years, and then in 2016 the Cubs won a World Series for the first time in 112 years. This league championship series was one of the biggest failures that I've known in baseball history. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Maurice, for that great story. Not a huge baseball fan, but it was very interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, our next speaker for tonight is going to be Heather Trent. And are you doing your icebreaker out of Pathways?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Heather will be doing her icebreaker out of the Pathways system. So let's welcome Heather for her icebreaker.
Good evening, everybody. This is my second icebreaker, so I guess I'll try and share with everybody some things about myself. Firstly, I'm studying real estate. Though I'm technically majoring in finance, I have a concentration in real estate, and after college I plan to go into that field and kind of have a career in real estate. The reason I chose that career was because I saw it as this industry that would enable me to kind of work toward being financially free. Not that other careers can't do that as well, but I saw the potential more in real estate, and I saw it as something that I was kind of interested in more, and that was a better match for me. Secondly, I really like learning, so anything that I'm kind of interested in, if it's a culture or a hobby or a sport or a subject, just anything that I'm interested in, I really like to learn about it. For example, like last year, I was doing roller skating for some time, but I kind of got off track with it. Just any old random thing that I like, I'll start learning it. I really enjoy learning. And third thing is that I'm trying to pick up a sport. I'm not sure what, but I think maybe swimming, because for one thing, it's low impact, so you're less likely to get injured. Second thing is that it exercises the whole body, and then third of all, as a musician, it really appeals because it builds lung support. So I think that swimming is probably a good sport that I'm interested in. Okay, and then moving on, why did I join Toastmasters? I just want to share this. So I joined Toastmasters because I had a speech class, and for most of my life, speaking was fine. It wasn't really a problem. It was okay. I didn't have any problem with it. But gradually, I kind of became, or developed this kind of anxiety around it and this kind of nervous tendency. And so with this speech class that was coming up, I didn't want to get up there and like shake in front of everybody and do really bad. So I heard about Toastmasters and I decided to come out and try it. And I think that was in 2016. And since then, I've stayed because I think all of us can agree that communication and speaking and leadership, these are great skills to have. And in this environment in particular, it's something that I was drawn to and that I really developed kind of an association to. I don't know. I really like this club and I like all the members. So that's why I stayed with Toastmasters, and I think it's a great organization in any case. Lastly, I'd like to share my goals. First off, I think just like everybody else, I want to be a great speaker, and I've seen people growing here, and I've seen how all of us have been developing as speakers, and I think that kind of first and foremost, I want to be a great speaker. No matter what audience I'm in front of, whether it's here at Hilltoppers Toastmasters or in a classroom or in any situation, in front of any audience, any number of people. To be a great speaker, I think is a great thing. Secondly, I'd like to earn my certification of Distinguished Toastmaster. So that's another thing. I also want to be an accredited speaker because I just feel like having that goal and knowing the steps that I have to take to get there, it pushes me as a speaker and as a member of Toastmasters, and it's something that's kind of one of my goals at Toastmasters. And then lastly, I think all of that ties into this, and it's personal growth. Growing as a person and just trying to push oneself to be better in some way or to achieve something, I think is very important. And personally, I actually like things to be kind of uncomfortable. I like to have challenging goals. I think that if there's something I want to do or learn and it's kind of hard for me to picture doing it, I think it kind of pushes me. And I like the idea of just taking steps to be better and better and better. And I think personal growth is something that all of us kind of were drawn to Toastmasters, or a reason all of us were drawn to Toastmasters. So those are my goals. Those are some things about me and a reason that I joined Toastmasters. And I hope with that everybody learned a little more about me, and I'm excited to learn more about everybody else. And I will now relinquish the lectern back to our Toastmaster, Cody.
Thanks, Heather, for your second icebreaker. And I think I heard your first one, so I learned a few things about myself. Great. Okay, now we're going to move on to table topics, and our table topics master tonight is Susan, so let's welcome Susan.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, Olivia and Jaime, for being here. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting some table topics about the new year. I realized we're a couple of weeks in, but hey, it still applies, right? We're still in January. So I'm going to go ahead and read the question and ask for volunteers to come up and address the question I've asked. Netflix has a new show out about organizing your home, and it's taken the country by storm. Our daughter, of all people, organized her home after seeing this, so I'm all for it. People everywhere are getting organized. So my question, or maybe two-part question, are you holding on to something you need to let go of? And are you getting organized this new year in any meaningful way? Shine.
Thank you. Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I've been asked about the new Netflix series. Her name is Marie Kondo. She is precious. And yes, I have started watching that show. It was recommended to me. And before I watched the show, I was like, oh, it's another show with like 10 steps to make yourself better. And I love the show Hoarders, but they kind of get down and make those people feel bad about themselves to get rid of the things they have. So I was on Netflix and I saw her smiley little face. I was like, I'll give it a chance. And it was really encouraging, and she gives practical steps to declutter and to organize your home. And just to let you know the setup, she doesn't just tell you how to clean, she goes and visits families and helps them get organized. And there will be items that they don't want to get rid of. And she's like, okay, that's great, which is completely different than Hoarders, where like, you're a piece of dirt, like get rid of it. And the families are yelling, and it's a mess. But so it kind of made me look at myself and look at the things we have. I'm married, and before I was married, I lived in the house that I'm in now. It's less than 1,000 square feet. Everything was clean all the time, and then my husband, who is not organized at all, moved in with his things. So we've had a struggle there, but I made him watch an episode, and he took out all of the clothes in his drawer and folded them the way she does it, because it makes things about this big. So that was surprising, and his drawers are now more clean than mine. One thing that I hold on to the most, I would say, is clothes. I have a struggle with my clothes because I have to dress professionally for work, and I also have my personal clothing. So if I don't wear something out every day, I might wear it to work. So I have a hard time letting go of those things because I don't want to wear the same thing to work every day. So, but yes, Marie Kondo has helped me purge some of those items and visit your local Goodwills, because there will be lots of good things. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm just going to have to watch it. So,
She's so sweet. She's so cute.
we've been through the Netflix, and I've seen the show and heard what my daughter's reaction was to that, and now I'm going to have to, since I've heard your story. All right, the second question. Sometimes people write down goals or aspirations. So what are yours this year? What would you like to achieve? If you haven't written them down, can you think of some you'd like to share? Yeah.
This is a really great question, and although I do not write down the 2 goals that I have in mind this year, I have made an Excel calendar. In Excel, there's an option, there's a pre-formatted setting of making calendars. And so my 2 goals are no caffeine for at least 90 days, and no procrastination with video games for the 5 to 6 months right now. Yeah, I'm doing a half-year resolution right now to make it more likely that I'll succeed in that resolution rather than committing to the whole 12-month period. So for that reason, I don't necessarily write down those 2 resolutions, but I have my calendar and I already have pre-marked on the calendars, like this week I will make sure that I do not take in caffeine or I don't procrastinate on video games. And seeing the calendar and committing myself, my future self, to these goals for the week makes it more likely for me to meet the resolution that I set out for myself. And the best part about the calendar is that after all things are said and done, after a month has passed by, you can look back at the previous months where you've been successful. And that knowing that I've been keeping up this pattern well for the span of a month or 2 months is what's definitely going to make me more motivated to maintain that good behavior in the future. Madam Table Topic.
That's inspiring. Caffeine kind of is my bugaboo too. All right, third question. Can you describe your life in a 6-word or fewer sentence?
In 2 minutes.
But you can explain that.
Okay.
Why you...
There's a hand.
Oh, Lawrence, please.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I've been asked to describe my life in 6 words or less. Actually, that's not so hard as most people think. I would have to say I could probably do it in 4 words.
Name that too.
Or 3,
Yeah, that's what I
3
was
words. Happy, go, lucky. Very easy life. I have spent most of my adult life trying to be as happy-go-lucky as I could be. Of course, there's always stress in life, but stress is only bad if you look at it as being bad and you live in it. If you have stress and you deal with it and you move on, then life is good, right? We have to understand that every day, at the end of the day, you are 1 day closer to being dead. So that means that every day you should live to the best of your ability to create joy, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. So I highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, that you try to live a little bit of your life happy-go-lucky. Madam Howell.
Thank you, happy-go-lucky Lawrence. 4th question. What is one trip you've planned this year or would like to go on? Tom.
That's an interesting topic because I really had no trips planned this year, and now I've got 3 in February.
Oh.
To include a business trip to the east coast of Charleston, South Carolina, which I knew was coming up. It's a short trip. My wife and I had planned to go to Puerto Vallarta in February. We canceled that trip. We really had nothing laid out until her brother called on Sunday. And to make a long story short, we're now going on a week-long cruise again in February to Nassau, the Bahamas, 2 other places, going out of New Orleans. So we went from absolutely nothing going on to now we have 3 in 1 month.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to all of them. And we'll take some short trips. My wife and I really don't travel a whole heck of a lot. But when we do, we like to do it big. So it's the cruise coming up. So thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations. The next question is, did your holidays live up to the hype? If not, why? Cody.
So I really didn't have much planned for the holidays. I was given 17 days off from work, so it was quite a long time. And the first week I spent with my family don't live far away, they live in Foley, Alabama. So I traveled down, my brother came across from LA. It was good to see him. I hadn't got to spend much time with him since he's taking a job in LA at SpaceX. It was good, just real low-key, relaxed, played some board games, watched some TV, watching Premier League with my brother, which is something we used to do back in the day, so it was good family time. And then after that, he flew back, and then I went back to Mobile, and I just worked on some coding projects I've been doing. So I really didn't do a whole lot, not super eventful, but it was relaxing. And by the end of that, 17 days, I was ready to get back to work and see my colleagues and try to remember my password and get in my computer. And hopefully I documented what I was doing before I left well enough so I could start back on that. So it was a good break. I didn't have a lot of hype, so I think it met the expectations of my holidays. Thank you, Susan.
Good. And some of us were going constantly, so that sounds very nice, a relaxing holiday. I guess we have time for one or so more. I don't know who's keeping the time.
Yeah.
What book are you reading or is in your queue to read? Olivia.
Hello, Toastmaster members and honored guests, myself and Ani. I am not a big reader, so when the challenge was presented to me around November to read this book and that it would change my life, it almost brings tears to my eyes. So anyway, the name of the book is Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And it's 2 hours and 33 minutes if you do the audio. So I was like, I have 2 hours and 33 minutes. And it tells you, it's set back in almost biblical times. It's got cities like Jerusalem and Damascus and things like that. And the book just tells you it's 10 principles. And I know you talked about principles and not getting one of those, oh, this is just 10 ways to be better with your life. But when you ask the question about what are you going to do differently, what were your resolutions for this year? And reading that book has been such an inspiration because there are 10 things that you're supposed to do to excel at whatever it is that you want to do. And one of them is the first of the 10 scrolls. It tells you that you are supposed to create new habits. So my goal has been, I didn't start in January. I read the book in November. I already had some plans. So come December, I had already started to create new habits. And my habit that I created was, well, it says that the book tells you that we are creatures of habit. There is no change in that. You either have bad habits or new ones. So you get up every day and you put down an old habit and replace it with a new one. And one of the quotes says, I will replace old habits with new ones. I will become a slave to them, and because it is my will, then this is good. So every day I find a new habit, or I have new habits that I'm working on, and at the end of the day, I'm overwhelmed that once again I replaced an old habit, which is not PlayStation or playing games for me, but mine sometimes is Law and Order SVU. It's like one of my weaknesses. So no, I turn Law and Order SVU, and I find something positive to do. So that's my book. I recommend it, please. Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino.
Thank you for that inspiration for us. Hopefully we can put down some old habits and raise up some new ones. One more? Or we need to move on? No? All right. Thank you.
Great table topics portion. Always love that. So now we'll have our evaluation period, and our general evaluator is going to be Diego.
Thanks, Cody. All right, everyone. So now we're going to discuss the evaluation portion of our meeting. And before we get into hearing the reports from everyone, we're going to invite to the podium, to the lectern, the first evaluator, which I believe is Tom, right? So please give a round for Tom.
For the benefit of our guests, when people give speeches, they're evaluated, and typically we have a guideline to go by. Maurice was working out of the advanced manual called Storytelling, the 5th project, and that completes this manual. And don't forget to get the Vice President of Education to sign the sheet in the back. I'm not going to do that, okay? You can read this, all and know what it just asks a series of questions and you answer the questions. I want to take a little different tack with you on this one, if you don't mind. And I will take the license to do this because my wife is a scientist. And she's very comfortable in front of a microscope, okay? She's not real good with she's an introvert, not an extrovert. So when I say this, and I don't mean this as an offense, but up until this point, up until tonight, whenever I heard you read a speech, it was like an engineer would read a speech or read a talk, which is kind of monotone and facts and not much. The first sentence you said when you got up here, I knew this was going to be different. You obviously have a passion for baseball, I would think, right? That came out. You did look down sometimes. I'm not sure what you were looking at, but you spoke more from your passion tonight than I've ever seen you do. Now, I haven't seen that many speeches because I've only been a member of the club since maybe June, but I've known you a little bit. We met on a couple of occasions at meetings.
Yes.
I'd love to see more of that come out from you. I thought that was tremendous. Now, being from Cincinnati, and I take it you're from Boston.
Well, I lived in New England for
Were you in
5
Boston
years.
in 75?
Yes, around that time.
You have to understand this. It was a 7-game series, and it was probably still one of the very best World Series that ever was conducted, okay? But in the 6th game, if you recall, Carlton Fisk hit the home run, and it was borderline whether it was going to go fair or foul, and he's going down the first baseline going like this, okay?
Yes.
I don't know how many years the people in Boston played that in order to think they won the World Series because of that. But they didn't. The Reds won the series.
Yes.
And I can remember Pete Rose coming off the field talking to Sparky Anderson saying, that's the best game I've ever played in. He was so thrilled with just what was happening in that whole series. It's memorable. But they still use that as, up until 2004, when they finally won a series. But they used to use that video highlight, as you would have thought they won the World Series. But I really, really enjoyed your talk tonight. I saw passion coming from you. I saw emotion coming out. I saw smiles coming across your face at times. You could just tell that you were in this, and you really, really enjoyed it. And I'd love to see more of that, because you have it in you, and it was really good when it comes out. So, Mr. Jeremiah.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was also a very captivating evaluation. So good habits all around today. Now we're going to go into the second evaluation of the prepared speech, whose is Lawrence.
Okay, I got the pleasure of evaluating Heather's icebreaker. Now, this is her second icebreaker, so we didn't learn a lot of her history, but I thought it was quite good that she got up and really kind of gave some goals and some hopes for her life. And that's a really inspiring thing. I also was very happy to hear that she not only likes to share a little bit about herself, but she likes to receive from other people. Unfortunately, one thing I would like to recommend to everyone, when you do a speech, please print out the evaluation sheet and bring it with you, because I had to make one up in hopes that, and unfortunately I couldn't get on the internet on my iPad, so I couldn't find the real one, so I just had to make it up. But I will, when I go home, I'll print it up and I'll email it to you. But anyways, there were many things that I saw that she did very well. I thought she used really good vocal variety, and that was a good thing. Changing your voice, changing the way you speak really helps people a lot to keep their attention, and that's a very valuable thing. Now, there were a few things that I thought could be a little bit better. I think her body language could have improved. She used a lot of hand motions, but she pretty much stood in the same place the entire time, which may or may not be a bad thing, but if you use your body language to emphasize a point, then even just moving one step in either direction will help to bring people more, make it feel like you're more part of the audience. and so the audience will appreciate that. So that's one thing that I thought she could improve on. Now, in the pathways, there's always a section on what is good and what could use improvement. Well, the improvement, as I said, was the body language. But one thing that I really liked also in her speech was the fact that she used a very clear voice. She was speaking in a way that everyone could understand, that she could, present herself. I think that her time on the stage as a musician may help her to kind of project herself into the audience a little bit. I've seen her do solos in her musical career, so I thought that she presented herself into the audience very well, with a clear voice, clear speaking, and I think that was really well. So I'm very glad to have the opportunity to have evaluated her. Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager.
Thanks, Lawrence, and I know that, and I'm sure that Heather really appreciated that even though you didn't have a chance to have a pre-prepared evaluation sheet, you were still able to come up with some good feedback to share with her, and also remind everyone in the future, whenever anyone's engaged in pathways, to make sure that they come with the evaluation sheet as well for future evaluators. Now we're going to go into the reports from the various roles from tonight. John, would you like to share your report?
Sure, can we do it from here?
Absolutely.
Starting with Maurice on the baseball. You said and so a few times, but I felt like it was part of your speech, except for a couple of times. It was just an and or a so that seemed like you paused a little bit before. Those are the only two I caught. Those are really good. I just used one. Heather, let's see, you had several. I don't know, you kept looking at me, writing stuff, and so I was watching me every time I marked something down. But you had, I don't know if I need to go in and count exactly how many unless you want to know.
No. Thanks.
On table topics, let's see, who gave the first one?
That was me.
Okay, you had one so, and one
Alright. My name is Cheyenne.
Let's see, Diego, you had one and one so. Lawrence, I didn't pick up anything on you on your 6 words or less, or 4 words or less of your life. You did steal from Pink Floyd Time as far as the quote there. So.
I understand.
Bonus points for that.
That's the word of the day, I think, right?
Oh, I didn't use mantra. Oh, bummer.
And then on your planned trips, Tom, you had 2 uhs and 2 so's. Cody, you had 2 so's, 3 ands. Olivia, if you'd like to know,
Absolutely.
you had 4 so's, 7 ums, and 2 ands.
Wow, I never even thought I used the word
I know.
That's
It's so
amazing.
easy to do, and you don't even realize it.
Okay.
Kind of what this is about is just kind
Yes.
of giving you an idea of, self-awareness of what to look for. And I still, we all still, we try to get better. Let's see. And that's about it. The others were kind of, I could give or take. That's it.
Thanks, John. Cheyenne, can you give us the timers report, please?
Yes, the first prepared speech by Maurice was 9 minutes and 9 seconds. The icebreaker speech given by Heather was 5 minutes and 53 seconds. For the table topics, mine was 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Diego, yours was 1 minute and 21 seconds. Lawrence, yours was 1 minute and 38 seconds. Tom, yours was 51 seconds. Cody, yours was 1 minute and 20 seconds. And Olivia, yours was 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Tom's evaluation was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And Lawrence, yours was 3 minutes and 11 seconds.
Thanks, Cheyenne. Justin, would you like to give us your report?
Sure. So the grammarian report. Maurice, on your speech, I didn't notice any issues. You're very deliberate with your language and your grammar is very good. On Heather, I noticed a couple of things. You used some kind ofs. You tend to use like. And there's some crossover here, I guess, with the counter. Another thing I noticed is you said, do really bad. Use that phrase, or do really badly, or just choosing a different phrase altogether. Moving on to table topics, Cheyenne, I didn't notice any issues. Diego, I noticed you used double words a couple of times. You had a that. You're right there. Lawrence, no issues at all. Tom, no issues. Cody, no issues on your table topics. Olivia, I didn't notice any grammatical errors in yours at all. When moving on to the evaluations, Tom, I did notice in your evaluation that you used double words a couple of times. And then Lawrence, on your evaluation, I noticed you used good one time when you should have used well. That's being very nitpicky. And then later on, you used well properly.
My wife tells me that all.
And then lastly, on the word of the day, I didn't catch anyone using the word of the day today, and it was such a great one, mantra.
Yeah, I missed the opportunity, but you know, I had to focus on the speech.
That concludes the grammarian report. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Justin. So I think the general evaluator basically goes through the grammarian, the all counter, and the timer. Those are the three roles that.
Right, and then just a brief overview of how you thought the meeting.
Okay, so my general comments on the meeting. I think we did a really great job on everyone stepping up to the plate and doing 2 prepared speeches this week. That was a really great job. Let's keep up that habit in the future. It's always good. It's always good that we're having different people excited and wanting to engage and exercise the prepared speeches portion of their brain and habits in developing those new skills. And the other comment I wanted to add was we started on time, and I think we also did a really good job of welcoming our guests Olivia and Jaime tonight as well.
Thank you.
And those are my basic comments I want to share on the general evaluation of this meeting tonight. I'm going to return the lectern back to our Toastmaster.
Don't get too comfortable, Diego, because educational overview is next. So let's welcome Diego for educational overview.
All right, everyone. The first piece of advice I want to share with everyone tonight when it comes to educational overview is that when you are counting to use the Toastmasters magazine to be your bread and butter for the education overview speech, make sure you bring it with you. So don't make my mistake in the future. However, I do remember some main points from the Toastmasters magazine that I want to share with everyone. If I recall correctly, this was from the December edition, and I was drawn to it because on the title cover, it talked about new ways to do table topics in the future. And they had like 9 different topics, which were all really great, but 3 really stood out to me that I wanted to share with everyone. I'm sorry, I have 2 or 3, let's see here. Okay, I have 3 here. So the first one, and Cheyenne's really going to get a kick out of this one because it's all about comedic timing and improv. It's just like come up with a fictional tale of you meeting a celebrity, or if you're really good, tell a real life tale of when you met a real life celebrity. The next one was this has to do with word of the day. Pull out a dictionary and look at the most weirdly named word you can see and tell that word to someone and then have them come up with a fictitious definition of it. And then at the end of the table topic session, provide the real life definition of it. Oh, I'm sorry, I have... the other comment I wanted to add was that in the future, if you do want to do education overview, if you want to meet that requirement for your competent leadership manual, I believe, look at your Toastmasters magazine. It's not just there to gather dust. There's a lot of great material from there as well that will inspire you to give an education overview in the future. And that is my education overview. I'm going to turn it back to the Toastmaster.
Appreciate the educational overview. Some good ideas. Spice up our table topics a little bit. Well, that ends our educational portion of the meeting. We do not have any awards.
We do. Don't we have an award tonight?
Oh, you have your,
Yeah.
you do?
Yes.
Yeah. I brought it with me.
Okay.
Okay. You guys a camera phone, Diego?
Camera.
the,
Competent communicator completion.
So I take that back. We do have an award tonight. I would like to congratulate Heather for getting her Competent Communicator Award for Toastmasters.
Okay, now let's go one by the lady insignia.
Completed your goal.
Handshake.
yeah.
That was, she said that was her goal for the year.
Lawrence did it like in his picture, like, okay, never mind.
Give it your own, give it your own
Keep
pizzazz.
going.
Don't be like
Okay,
Lawrence.
Okay, yeah, okay, that
There
works.
you go.
Well, the award is covering your handshake. So it's like, yeah,
It's okay, this is one of many awards that she's gonna get, so.
So for our guests, Heather completed 10 speeches, and so that's the award to you after 10 speeches. So that's a great way to end the meeting, so thank you everyone, have a good night.